If your team runs cloud workloads, AI services, developer pipelines, or internet-facing infrastructure, today's security question is simple. Which patch changes your blast radius first? This is Daily Tech Hack Global for August 15, 2026. The facts in this briefing come from NBD, CISO when reachable, and linked vendor advisories. I will keep the discussion defensive, no exploit commands, no payloads, and no step-by-step attack chains. The lead item is CVE-2026-73678. NBD describes it as, MinesDB Mines platform version 26.1.0 and earlier contains an unauthenticated remote code execution vulnerability that allows unauthenticated attackers to execute arbitrary OS commands by submitting crafted prompts to the unprotected post/API/v1/responses/endpoint, which reaches the Anton agent scratchpad tool that calls exec on attacker-influenced Python source without sandboxing. Attackers can first configure their own LLM API key through the unauthenticated put/API/v1/settings/endpoint, then post a prompt. The recorded severity is critical with CVSS 10.0. Why it matters: agent tools often forward credentials or call internal APIs, so path scope, least privilege, and audit logs matter as much as model behavior. The second item is CVE-2026-72826. NBD summarizes it as, the getGraph/grab plugin API plugin before 1.0.13 fails to validate that the scopes of a newly created API key are a subset of the caller's scopes in create API key. The self-target path of require API key permission requires only the baseline API.access scope, and the new key scopes are read directly from the request body with no subset check. An attacker holding a minimal scope API key on a super account can submit an empty scopes array to mint an unscoped. Severity is critical with CVSS 9.8. The operational takeaway is to map this advisory to exposed systems, service credentials, and any automation that can turn a small weakness into a larger incident. Item 3 is CVE 2026-73032. Papers GPT for Zotero 0.6.1 contains a remote code execution vulnerability that allows attackers to execute arbitrary JavaScript by returning malicious code from an LLM endpoint that is passed unsanitized to window.eval in views.ts. Attackers can exploit this through prompt injection in PDFs, MITM interception of API requests, or a malicious custom LLM endpoint to execute arbitrary code in Zotero's Chrome privileged. Severity, critical, CVSS 9.6. Defensive context, prioritized by exposure, privilege, reachable credentials, and whether automation can amplify impact. Item 4 is CVE 2026-72841. Lucy app open fails to properly validate the instance_name2 parameter during file upload, allowing authenticated users to perform path traversal and write arbitrary files outside the intended directory. Attackers can upload malicious payloads to gain persistent root code execution by placing SSH keys in system directories accessible on reboot. Severity, critical, CVSS 9.9. Defensive context, boundary devices concentrate remote access and network trust. Patch priority should reflect exposure, not just CVSS. Here is the defender checklist. First, identify whether any affected product is internet-facing, reachable from CI systems, or reachable by AI agents and automation. Second, patch according to the vendor advisory, not just the headline score. Third, review service accounts, API keys, pod identities, OAuth apps, and tool credentials that could be reused if the affected system was compromised. Fourth, add monitoring around unusual admin actions, image pulls, tool calls, authentication failures, and outbound network requests. Fifth, document what was patched and what was deferred so tomorrow's team can audit the risk instead of rediscovering it. The larger lesson is that AI security is not only prompt security. It is the security of runtimes, cloud services, tool connectors, identity boundaries, and the operational process that decides what gets patched first. Patch what is exposed, reduce what is privileged, rotate what may have leaked, and make automation prove what it is allowed to touch.